Welcome to R&R Showtime with Robert
and Ryan.
And today we'll be discussing What If, episodes 3
What if the world lost its mightiest heroes?
and 4.
What if Doctor Strange lost his heart instead of his hands?
So, first impressions.
I mean, episode 3 is the best one so far.
You think so?
I think so.
Interesting.
And episode 4 is just kind of depressing.
I guess that's fair. You know, you say that that's the best one so far, and I don't know if I've actually thought about which one so far would be like my favorite or I think is the best. But I mean, man, every time I watch these things, I just keep thinking back to that I didn't think that this was going to be a good show, or I didn't really care about it, and that I love it. Like, this is great. I mean, each episode is just so interestingly unique, and getting to see just a new take on events that we know, seeing them told in a different way, and they're just what ifs, and I think they're really good. I've enjoyed and what I've actually enjoyed about the last two is that they were like not good, essentially, you know. So
yeah, like bad timelines.
Yeah, these are like, you know, to say the one with episode 3. I mean, bad things happen, but that's not like an ultimately bad ending. It's like, okay, the world doesn't have these Avengers, but instead it'll have some new heroes.
Just the captains.
Yeah, at the end, you know, it makes a point like, you know, new heroes will arise in their place. Like, that's the moral of the thing. That even though these ones didn't, and this universe doesn't have these heroes, this universe still will have heroes. But number 4 was like, wow, I like that they just said, hey, sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes, you know, bad choices lead to the end of everything.
And episode 4 also had a lot more of the fourth wall, watching the watcher questions that I think I had a feeling that the show was going to sort of tackle in some way. But yeah, so this is basically confirmation that the watcher is going to play some more of a role.
Yeah. So, and that's why I'm hoping to see that at some point, like, that it's not just, I mean, the way that it's all set up is that it's not just that we're watching these instances, but we are with the watcher watching them, and that the watcher is existing here. And these are just realities that he's seeing. And since we've already seen that little interaction, we're like, this is going to be more, man. Like, this is, I already see this touching into the multiversal, you know, thing that we're already, you know, the branch that we're already watching with Loki and with everything we're seeing. I already see how this is going to tie into it a little bit. I think that this is going to end up having some direct tie-in to our multiverse sort of, you know, future happenings that are going on.
Yeah, presumably so. I feel like I may have said this the last time, but I could see Captain Carter popping up in live action show.
Yeah. So, well, let's get into our recap, and we can talk a little more about that at the end.
Episode 3.
The episode is almost, to say a little bit, it's kind of like simple in what it is. It's, you know, but it's the watching of it that makes it entertaining. It starts with us in Iron Man 2, right? Yeah, Iron Man 2.
Yeah.
Where Fury meets with Tony, and kind of the real inception and beginning of the Avengers, you know, where it actually kind of, not, you know, just like obviously Iron Man coming out and Captain America, the first Avenger, and all that. But like, this is where that really starts. Like, we see Fury putting it together. It's
Fury's big week, I think it's been referred to, because within this week are the events of Iron Man 2, The Incredible Hulk, and Thor.
Yeah, which I didn't even realize that was a thing until I saw this what if that basically says, yeah, all these things happen in a week. And, you know, I just didn't know that. And I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
So, but basically we see day by day, each of the events of the big week turn completely on their head, where instead of him inducting or kind of breaching and bringing these people towards joining the Avengers, or having first contact with Thor, to say, literally end up in all of the people selected for the Avengers getting killed. Iron Man takes
Natasha injects Tony with with what was supposed to be just like a harmless like thing to like help him get back into shape, and he immediately keels over and dies.
Yeah.
Tony Stark is the first person we see die, which is also a bit of like I mean, he is one of the Avengers who we see eventually die, but to see him die before even the first Avengers movie is just like a fuck.
Yeah, it was definitely like, I mean, you know that the episode's called "What If Earth Lost Its Mightiest Heroes."
So
like
you go in expecting it, but like still, like when you kill off Iron Man, like barely into the episode,
it's not even just that. Yeah, barely in the episode, but also he dies not in battle. It's not like he's like fighting some big monster, some unstoppable force that kills him. Right? That's something we'd almost suspect. But they're sitting in a diner.
Yeah,
and he takes an injection that's supposed to save him, and he just dies.
Mm-hmm.
And that is shocking, to say the least.
And then we go to
so Natasha is blamed though, right? And she's like taken in.
Meanwhile, they've found a hammer, Mjolnir, out in the desert, and they set up their shield base around it, and Thor breaks in to take the hammer to try and claim it, as in the events of Thor. And we get Clint, Hawkeye, lining up his shot like in the movie, but this time he accidentally lets fire and kills Thor. And I guess that makes sense because at this point he's been stripped of his power. It's kind of weird to think that he was mortal at this point and that he could have been killed, because like even like in my brain I was like, yeah, if he got shot he's still Thor, but apparently not.
Apparently, I didn't really understand that either. I mean, I guess we can just take that as canon, that he at that time he was stripped of his power. But I mean, this is kind of comes back to something I was like talking about when we were watching Loki, where it's like, okay, so he's stripped of his magic powers or whatever. However, an Asgardian's powers work, right? Because he has the power over lightning and things. And I don't know if that's a magical something. Like again, things are all like whatever
I think
in this universe.
Odin used magic to strip him of his power.
I guess maybe that makes sense that Odin used his magic, however it works, to strip him of his abilities. And so with that, I mean, I just don't see why Odin was like, well, I'll take you all your power, but also take your invulnerability, or minor invulnerability that you have, like your power as an Asgardian. Like, did he really just go, whoop, you are just like a mortal man now? But I guess, obviously, that is just what happened there. So, yeah. I mean, we have to take what we saw. But it does just make me question, like, why would Odin even go that far? Like, I don't know why I don't know that taking away his, Asgardian less vulnerability. I guess he's not invulnerable. He can take damage. We see that all the time. But making him, like, more killable is how that's going to humble him.
And this specific event leads to another chain event of Thor does not reclaim himself, does not like fix his path. And so we get like maybe even the next day, Loki pulls up with the Asgardian army here to take revenge for the death of his brother.
Yeah.
And
there's obviously Heimdall must have immediately seen that they killed Thor.
Yeah.
And so it would have been reported, and Loki being kind of in charge back at home already, even though it was a plot before, now nobody's even suspecting.
Yeah, I think at this point, like the death of Thor, one, it leads the power vacuum. Loki is then has to be. He's not like vying to take Thor's place while Thor is like at that point. He's still probably. You also kind of got to wonder, did Loki still finds out about the truth and he still has some anger? What happened to Odin? What happened to Frida? We don't know. But I mean, presumably they're just like imprisoned, or maybe they accept that. Maybe they're just so sad at Thor being gone. It's hard to say.
Yeah. We don't really get a lot of that, but I could imagine, if I had theorized, that Odin kind of just like he's like, all right, Loki, like Thor is dead. You will be the one that takes over then. Like he was basically ready to hand it down. And this is a moment where it's like, well, you might not have picked Loki before, but if there's no other option now, and Loki is, could be a very good leader.
Yes.
And with this, it's like, here, Loki, here's the chance to go and avenge Thor and take your rightful place, right? Like do this thing, and you might earn being king of Asgard.
And also take notice, or at least I noticed the fact that Loki pulls up with the Asgardian army, but only one of the I don't know the name of the group, but like Thor is like Asgardian allies.
Yeah.
Because at this
Sif.
point, they're all alive. They haven't.
Yeah.
All of them should be alive. None of them have been killed by Hela at this point.
Yeah.
But again, it's just Sif, who
Yeah.
we saw in Loki. So Sif is coming back into the MCU.
Yeah.
She's going to be in it. The rest of them, I think, are dead, but I think maybe Sif was the only one that didn't get killed by Hela.
I think they're called like the Warriors 4 or something like that.
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, good for the one that went off to become Shazam, but who remembers who the other two even are?
Yeah, basically. But yeah, so Loki shows up. He's like, "You killed my brother. Prepare to die." You know, and Fury negotiates with him. While at the same time, Fury kind of gave the ability. Actually, no, he just gave he said, "Widow, break out and go figure out what's going on. Like clearly, there's something going on here. I know you didn't do this."
Oh, Clint got basically put in a cell for killing Thor, and in the cell, Clint dies.
Yeah. So there's a lot of shit going on. And Widow is trying to figure out what is happening. Fury negotiates with Loki and kind of stops him and says, "Hey, give us some time. Like something's going on here, and we want to know who killed him. I don't think it was my guy. My guy's dead now too. So let's figure out what's happening." He's like, "All right, we'll give you till tomorrow." Loki says.
Yeah. Natasha goes off to investigate, and chooses to go find Banner, thinking one, he needs potentially protection, but also to try and figure out what could have done this. Because she goes for the microbiology lab to see like if the compound that she injected into Stark was actually lethal, and finds that the compound never made it into Stark. The needle was basically busted and something else went into Stark.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I like that. So the scene that we get to see here, very interesting. It's not as interesting, but it's cool to see that this scene is the same exact scene that was in Incredible Hulk, except it's with Mark Ruffalo now.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen that movie, so.
Oh, you never seen Incredible Hulk?
No.
It was okay. It was definitely better than Hulk.
I've heard, but yeah, so I've heard some say that it's like the character almost looks like some cross between Edward Norton and Mark Ruffalo, which but we get Mark Ruffalo's actual voice.
Mm-hmm.
We get a lot of the returning voices. I believe it's only the only people that don't do their voices are Tony Stark, which it's kind of immediately noticeable.
Mm-hmm.
Natasha is voiced not by Scarlett Johansson, but not a bad.
Yeah, I almost knew immediately that it wasn't Scarlett Johansson, but then as she kept talking, I was like, okay, this is actually pretty decent because I'm forgetting. It's sounding kind of like her a little bit.
And I believe the little bit of Captain Marvel we get at the end is not Brie Larson, but we get Samuel L. Jackson. Coulson's voiced by Coulson.
Yeah, because that's his name.
Jeremy Renner voices Hawkeye. We get Mark Ruffalo, as I said, Tom Hiddleston. Yeah.
She goes there, meets with Banner, is trying to investigate what's going on, talking to Banner's female love interest woman whose name I forget.
Yeah.
Again, while all these other events are going on, then at this time, again, the event from Incredible Hulk happens again, where, the army shows up and begins to assault Hulk and everything. And at one point, Hulk gets shot by somebody out on the field, which I don't believe that actually happened I haven't seen Incredible Hulk in forever. I just remember it somewhat. He gets shot by someone. He hulks out, runs out there to start thrashing stuff all over the place. But as it's happening, at some point he just starts really expanding and blowing up. And
I feel like at this point, I did not pick up on who was going to be it. I did not know who the bad guy was basically until what Black Widow says. I think I figured it out then, but this is the first time where it should have been kind of obvious, of what killed Hulk. But it did not occur to me until we see later what it is that causes Hulk to expand and die.
I knew who it was after Hawkeye died, but before Hulk actually happened, because I was just sitting there trying to figure it out. And I was like, what could have done these things? And I basically, I thought it was Ant-Man, right? So I guessed it was Ant-Man.
Yeah.
Which to say I was kind of right.
I mean, yeah, like we don't have Paul Rudd at this point.
I thought it was Yellow Jacket. This is, and okay, anybody that's watched, you've all probably watched the episode. I'm just going to give you my, what I thought it was. At this point, I thought, oh, so at this point, the Yellow Jacket villain from the Ant-Man movie developed his thing sooner and faster, and he has been commissioned by the leader of Hydra or something to stop these Avengers, like get rid of them so that he can discredit Fury and blah, 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 blah.
That's not a bad idea.
That is exactly what I thought was happening. I was like, he sent the Yellow Jacket in to kill these guys ahead of time.
And that would be the what if. The change that occurred was that he developed the Yellow Jacket sooner.
Yeah.
Like prior to the formation of the Avengers.
Or he stole Pym's research sooner or whatever it is. He developed it sooner than the Avengers were able to assemble, and they used it strategically. I thought that I just thought it was the actual villain Yellow Jacket.
I see. Ant-Man did not even cross my mind until, so Hulk everyone's dead at this point except for Natasha. And Natasha is trying to investigate. She's granted clearance through Coulson's shield access, and is trying to investigate who would have motive, who logged into the servers, and finds that someone who has been dead for a few years has logged into the servers. And at this point, she gets attacked by an unseen force, an invisible force, as it were. And she's able to call Fury while she's being attacked and leaves the message, "It's hope. It's all about hope."
Yeah.
Or it's not exactly that. And at that point, I was like, hope. Oh, I know who that is.
Yeah. And so it's funny, though, because when she says that, right? Okay, I was like, oh, confirmed. It is Ant-Man or something. But I still thought it was Yellow Jacket. Like I didn't catch on that it was Ant-Man or that it was her father or anything like that. I just still thought it was Yellow. I was like, oh, cool. So yeah, I'm right that it's basically Yellow Jacket or involved with that. He got her clearance somehow, or maybe he killed her and took her.
Maybe she became Yellow Jacket.
Yeah, exactly. I still thought it was not Hank or I did not think it was Hank or fucking what's Scott.
Yeah. But Fury takes this information and is able to figure out who it is at this point, and he decides to team up with Loki to basically go after who he believes it is, and he goes to the gravesite of Hope Van Dyne, right?
Yeah, Hope Van Dyne.
Yeah. It's one of those last names where I like, and because Dad's Pym, but
yeah,
Hank
Pym, Hope Van Dyne. Van Dyne took her mother's last name because she didn't like her father.
But yeah, so goes to the gravesite of Hope Van Dyne, and so at this point, the what if is really what if Hope had been killed fighting for S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
And we get a Hank Pym who is fucking angry.
Yeah, who is like, I guess he is Yellow Jacket now. He like alternate.
I mean, he's Ant-Man.
But I think he if you can even see his suit is like developed into a Yellow Jacket basically like suit.
Yeah.
So what if Hank Pym became the Yellow Jacket to revenge blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you get this cool like kind of little face off with him and Loki, where I mean it ties back in that Loki wanted to be the one.
You don't see that it's Loki at first. It looks like it's Fury, but then Fury starts using magic and stuff, and like is able to basically counter fight Hank Pym and creates a bunch of clones, and we see that it is Loki.
Yeah, and here's kind of where I questioned a little bit. I was like, Hank seems so like methodical and like perfect assassination. Why like he was doing, what I mean, he was Ant-Man, so he knew exactly this is how Ant-Man would operate. Like I sneak in and fucking take shit out before he can ever even see me and encounter me. So for him to just kind of like, I guess, and you could say like, oh, he's angry and he just, wasn't thinking straight or something like that. But he just kind of threw it all away. Like I could still see him beating Loki. Like I don't see why he could become small where Loki can't find you, jump up into his ear.
But he didn't know it was Loki.
I guess, yeah, you're right. Until it was a little too late.
Yeah, and at this point, like he sort of Hank's advantage this whole time was that he had the element of surprise. And when he saw Fury, he thought it was normal human ass Nick Fury who he could take out no problem.
Yeah, he underestimated him, and because it was Loki, he just didn't take it basically seriously.
And again, this is Loki with his powers. We're assuming that the Thor that got taken out by an arrow earlier was a Thor stripped of the magic. This is normal full power Loki.
Yeah. So yeah, but basically Loki smacks him down, and Fury comes up, and they both are like, "All right, cool, good job, Loki. Like, we caught the guy. This is, I mean, he literally admits to it that he was the one that killed all the people and stuff, and revealed because Hope was a Shield agent, and they sent her to wherever it was
to die.
Yeah, and she died there on a mission. Which, I mean, like, Fury even explains, like, she was being a Shield agent because she was trying to serve and help people. She, like, we didn't kill her. She died being a good agent. But Hank was like, no, fuck you, eat a dick. So, and that's following that.
Loki decides, you know what? I'm just gonna stay here to rule Midgard. You guys need me to rule, obviously.
Yeah.
And he goes to the UN and he's like, "Hey guys, it's me."
Yeah. Record took over the world in 24 hours.
Yeah. I stopped all of your petty squabbling. It's me.
Yeah. And yeah, but we see kind of like the conclusion, like we have all the coffins with all the symbols on them of all the Avengers that died, but Fury kind of brings it, even though it's like kind of a bad ending, it's like Loki basically succeeds. There are no Avengers to stop him. Like, he comes in and just, he's like, cool, no one stops me. In 24 hours, I took over Midgard. But we see that the moral is...
Probably my favorite moment of the episode is he uncovers the frozen shield of Captain America and he says, "Hello, Captain." And Captain Marvel pops up behind him.
Yeah.
So it's a double meaning.
Yeah, exactly. And we get that moral of the story, which is that, like, hey, still in your darkest times, heroes will arise, and Captain Marvel, Captain America, and surely all the other heroes that exist and can.
A moral that does not apply to the next episode.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. Because every universe is different. So in this universe, heroes will still rise, but in the next universe, we see what happens when the Sorcerer Supreme is not there to protect the universe, and when he acts in his own interests.
Yeah, so this is a universe in which instead of losing his hands, Doctor Strange loses his heart.
Yeah,
which is the Rachel McAdams character.
Yeah, our variation here is that because we remember him. The reason he was driving to the same thing that night, but before he had asked Rachel McAdams' character, who's
Christine Palmer.
Yeah, Christine. He had asked her, and she said, "No, I'm kind of over doing those things." And like they were like estranged, strange. They were estranged. They weren't really together at that point anymore. So in this universe, like they had not broken up. I guess they were like still in love and very much together. And so she is going with him there, and on the way, she dies. She's in the car crash, and she is what he loses and what he seeks out and is trying to repair in his life. And we see eventually, it's all the events happen. He becomes the Sorcerer Supreme and has the
bargaining with Dormammu.
Yeah, he has the Eye of Agamotto now, and now is he
is the Sorcerer Supreme.
Yeah, but in this universe, he cannot help but go even against the warnings of Wong, who says, "Hey, don't come have some tea with me before you do something stupid." And in this one, he tries to go back and revert the past. And every time he tries, he finds that he just can't. It is impossible. And he learns that this is a fixed time in this universe. Like, this is a moment that must happen. And because he must become the Sorcerer Supreme and save the world and protect the world.
Palmer's death is an absolute point.
Yeah, it's an absolute point, which is it's an interesting thing. I hope that I'm assuming that this is something that they're going to say, like, this is a thing which happens across many universes, that there are absolute points in universes, things that must happen
because obviously this is not the same absolute point of our universe, and the what if that absolute point was different.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we can assume that there are a bunch of like absolute points that are never referenced because they're never, nothing has ever tried to change them, right? And we can also assume that something like Thanos snapping might have been an absolute point. Like, it was supposed to happen no matter what, right? But in that universe, and them going back, it's not a variation. It's just what is supposed to happen in the sacred timeline. Sacred timeline is that Thanos does snap, but they come back and
they can't undo the snap having happened, but they can fix what the snap caused.
Yeah,
somewhat,
which is interesting, right? Like, maybe even explains that they didn't know that. It's not like they were like,
Yeah.
we can't change the snap from happening, but we can go back and change the future, because they just understand that, like, I guess the rules of it being like a Back to the Future thing actually do apply here, because you can make a whole branch off timeline. It just, as far as the sacred timeline goes, they know that they can't change their timeline, but they can make branch off timelines. And so instead they were like, we won't even try to change an absolute point, whether they knew it or not. They were going back and they were just going to change the future of this one. And so, I mean, that's interesting. Nonetheless,
we see Doctor Strange, the way he learns about the absolute point is that we see him attempt and fail to save Christine, like maybe like a dozen different times, each time getting more desperate to like, hey, let's not even drive off. And like she dies like of a heart attack, or he tries to leave her alone and he sees on the news, Dr. Christine Palmer has been killed. Yeah.
And the current Sorcerer Supreme comes and basically says, like, this is an absolute point in time and you can't change it. And trying to change it is not good. Like, it will only lead to ruin. Like, do not try. And he says, I just need more power then.
Yeah.
And so he goes to where he can probably find the most power.
But before he escapes, but before he does escape, the Ancient One's last attempt is to try and split him.
Mm-hmm.
So now he goes back in time to a different like version of the universe where he
goes back in time to just that universe where he goes back to the library of Cagliostro.
Yeah, but a different point in time. Like
and so he goes back in time and basically meets Ben. It's like Bendo. Oben. Yeah, I think that's Oben. He meets him and he continues to research. He just goes, he's taking all the information he can from libraries and finds that to get the amount of power he needs to basically take it from other creatures. So he starts summoning all these different creatures, and some of them are mythical ones that we might recognize, and some are just kind of like random ones, like ones that, you know, like a weird bug. There's a lawn gnome. Like he literally summoned, like the first thing he summons is a lawn gnome, an evil one. It looks like
a little,
yeah. But we also see him like summoning just all kinds of different things. I know there's some that I recognize in there. Like there was like a Cerberus kind of thing, or like a Manticore. And he even summons, like the very first thing he actually summons is the tentacles of the monster we saw from the Captain America episode.
Yeah.
Which is why I think that's also going to become some kind of important thing that we're going to keep seeing.
And it's clear. It seems like where is this place that he's drawing from? What is this realm? Is this what we're going to see in the Multiverse of Madness?
Well, I did go look it up a little bit because I wanted to understand it better. And from what I understand, that entity exists in between realms. Apparently, it's not even like something that exists in another universe. It exists between the universes.
Yeah, and presumably that's where all these other things are. And maybe like the multiverse, maybe Wanda opens up this in between. Maybe.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, and man, I would love to comment on a thing that's in Shang-Chi because I have seen it, but I will not at this point. We'll talk about it later. But one thing I bet that we're going to see is I think we're going to see this tentacle monster come back again. And I think we're going to see it come back and it's going to be missing a couple tips of its things. Because even despite what happens in this universe, because it exists in between universe, it exists
within the multiverse.
Exactly. So if somebody else encounters it, they may encounter it with cut off tentacle tips. Even though Captain America also cut off some of them as well, but I think we'll see maybe more of it. We'll see like a greater, like we always see is like a few tentacles pop out and like start, you know, worming their way in, but we might get like a moment where someone's like cast out into that empty space or something. We'll see like the vast, like crazy, massive monster that it is. And it'll have like a bunch of tentacles that are like partially sliced or cut. And it'll be like, oh, hey, that's from like when all the different things we saw were cutting off its tentacles. But nonetheless, he summons all these different things, absorbs their power, and we keep seeing him transform, like turn like more and more evil looking. And at one point, he even takes a new cape. Like he sees like some creature is wearing a cape, and he's like, "Nice cape, cool. I'll take that one." So it's like he even has like a dark, you know, evil looking Doctor Strange cape.
Yeah.
And eventually, after absorbing all these different creatures, he gets to the end where he encounters he resummons that same creature from before, slices off its tentacles, and absorbs that being maybe the most powerful one that he could have at that point. And at this time is kind of where we get a cut.
Well, no, he goes off. He leaves the little tomb where he's been absorbing powers for what is revealed to be centuries.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, he's been doing it for hundreds of years, which is pretty insane. But what we can assume is like we see him only do a dozen or more creatures. We can assume one that there are more, but two, I can also assume that it takes way longer. It's not like he just goes
just to summon
all
them.
right, cool.
Yeah.
I just summon over and over. I'm actually assuming that we're getting a cut because there's no time to show that it takes. I mean, it's advanced
maybe
magic.
he has to redraw his summoning circle every time and like find like and like do some seance and stuff. But yeah, so he comes out and he finds that Obang has aged many years and appears to be on his deathbed. And it is at this time that he converses with him. And we get Obang trying to like once again reinstilled to Doctor Strange, like, hey, like you have to accept death. Death is a certainty. You have to be able to come to terms with it.
Mm-hmm.
But this Doctor Strange still isn't willing to. But he is at this time that it's revealed to this Doctor Strange that he is split. He is only half of who he is.
Yeah, so he can never really have enough power because he's not even at his full strength.
Yeah.
So because of this, we get a flashback to that moment when Doctor Strange, when Wong originally warned him, do not, hey, don't do this. Come have some tea with me. And that time he puts it down. He goes and has tea with Wong, and essentially everything continues as normal. There's no issue, and that's fine. But even in their reality, they start seeing something happening. Like things are being like almost like
dissolving.
Ink. Yeah, they're dissolving like ink, which is interesting. And they kind of determine what's going on. The sorcerer, the ancient one, comes back as like an echo memory to communicate with him because, and it's an echo memory from that split universe where she was coming from the past, sending that to him to say, hey, this is what's going on. You need to prepare because evil version of you is doing bad stuff. And so him and Wong prepare and add all these protection spells to him. And we see, that he's getting ready to encounter himself when Wong basically is about dissolved away and he gets summoned. He gets really sucked up through the summoning portal, and Evil Strange says, hey, we can save her. I just need you. Like you are, my power is half and I need to absorb you, and thinks that this is the only way to do it. The other one's like, you're destroying the universe. You can't do this. You have to stop. And he's like, no, I'm so close. I almost have all the power I need to save her.
Commence fight sequence.
Yeah, commence fight. And epic fight, and they're going back and forth and everything. And it really looks like Evil Strange has him outdone. And he just keeps beating him down and breaking down his protection spell more and more until eventually he breaks it down fully. And honestly, there's a part of you that thinks like, okay, hey, a good Strange is going to figure it out and something's going to happen here, or he'll convince him or whatever. You keep thinking, and then he beats him down until finally at the very end, it's over. It's done.
He absorbs them. And he did all the monsters.
Yeah. And we're like, and then he goes on to enact his plan. He brings Christine Black, makes her be alive, and the universe literally is she is afraid of him because he literally is a monster.
Like
a complete monster.
He looks like a monster. He does not look like Strange.
Yeah, he looks kind of tight though, like pretty cool. I was like, it's cool to think that this Strange exists and that there's like a super dope, monstrous Strange a little bit.
Even his voice is like altered so it doesn't sound like him. So
yeah,
she wakes up and she's just like, get away from me. I'm terrified. And the world around is dissolving. And she begins to dissolve because she may be alive, but she's still part of this universe that's breaking down.
Yeah. And Strange is using all his power. He's like blasting these energy to like hold the now collapsing universe around and just keep it alive. And it just keeps going. And this is where we see him. He had sensed, or we kind of skipped over it. He had sensed the Watcher earlier, watching him.
Yeah, because at one point the Watcher speaks to us and he says, "I could interfere, but that's not proper."
Yeah,
he's on the wrong path, but it's not in my place to interfere.
Yeah, and at this point, I mean, Strange has already begun to or absorbed at least a couple or some. Maybe even just one, and it's either that his awareness is expanding to the point of the Watcher, like he's aware of the multiversal or something. He's aware of more, like he's getting like true sight and stuff. And the Watcher being super invisible doesn't mean that he can't like sense him or know that he's there.
And now at the end of all things, as his universe is being literally ripped apart because of his own action,
yep,
he basically starts yelling at the Watcher, like, you can fix this. You need to help. You can't let all these people die. And the Watcher plainly says, no, this is on you.
Yeah.
I it's not in my place. I can't do this.
Yep.
You chose this to happen because you wanted to interfere in what had to be. And I'm not going to fix this issue by interfering again.
Yeah, and he chose us against like countless warnings against it too.
Yeah.
Like really, I mean, it like started with Wong saying, hey, this isn't a good idea. The Ancient One literally comes to him and tells him it's not a good idea. Obend gives him tells him at the end, like, hey, you just have to accept death. You can't do it. You shouldn't do that.
He himself tells him it's the bad idea when he's confronted with himself.
Yeah.
He tells him this is not right, but he's not willing to listen.
Yeah, he's not willing to listen. This is and what I really love about this. Let's finish the recap. Essentially, the universe just collapses on him, and it's literally nothing but him and Christine as she slowly fades away, and that's it. Like the universe is broken down entirely until she is eventually gone, and he is left there alone in his little pocket universe. That's it. He is the only thing that exists now in his universe. He is just, and he's encapsulated there, and we see him like drift off, and it's just one little. We can see like the Watcher's probably floating in between, in the in between of multiverses, and that's it. Like Strange is trapped there. Now I think to myself, I'm like, is he trapped there though? I mean, his power has grown so immense. I mean, he's literally absorbed the power of things that exist between worlds. Why wouldn't he be able to travel out of this? Is what I imagine. I even think that maybe this Doctor Strange will be like a villain of this series.
Yeah,
I mean, truly, he's become such an ultimate insane power. How could we not need Avengers to fight something like that? I think he's going to try and travel to another universe and say, my universe is gone. I'll just absorb power from your universe to make mine whole again.
Or just travel to a universe where Christine never died.
Yeah, exactly. And be like, well, I'll take this one, or there can't be two of me or something. I can see him being some kind of antagonist in the future.
Yeah.
And that's going to be assemble the multiversal Avengers, these what if Avengers. I bet the Watcher goes, we need to do something about this one's important. This Strange is going to go and collapse every universe now. I can't stand by while this happens. It's not my place to interfere, but I can do this or something. He makes it so that all those what if universes know of each other and they all come together and
endless possibilities.
Yeah. Maybe that Strange goes to the universe that no longer has Avengers. Right. And that's what he, because there's no one to defend. I mean, there's Captain America and Captain Marvel, but some of their other mightiest heroes are gone. So he goes to a vulnerable universe, and something like that I think could be cool. But what I was getting at is that previously so Strange, it is so interesting to see that he is we're watching him, and in some ways we're rooting for him, or we think that he's going to come out of it. And I think this is a perfect example of really watching a villain. And now, if we didn't know who Doctor Strange was, right? If we didn't know he was a hero in another timeline, if we were just to encounter the end result, a villain at the end of, this monstrous creature, and you were to tell him, well, Doctor Strange was actually at one point the Sorcerer Supreme who defended this universe, but his heart ached so much for his lost love that he sought out great. And you could be told this story.
This is an origin story. Yeah.
Yeah.
You get lore dumped at the beginning of a movie, and this is the bad guy that comes out later.
Exactly. And it really humanizes or helps you be empathetic for a villain. And to see we like Doctor Strange, he is a hero to us, and seeing this is an alternative, right? The Doctor Strange to us, the constant Doctor Strange, or the real one, is the hero Doctor Strange, not the villain.
Yeah.
But this is simply a universe where no, he was the villain. In fact, he was the villain that won. He succeeded and destroyed the universe.
But that wasn't his goal. He had a more selfish goal that had that as an unintended consequence. Here's my question to you. So you keep saying we're following him, wanting to root for him. What did you expect was going to be the end of this episode?
I mean, it's not that I was rooting for him to succeed. I didn't want him to bring Christine back because clearly it was a bad thing and it wasn't the right path. But I thought, in the end, when I was okay, clearly he's the bad Strange now, I thought the good Strange would win.
I did not. And you know why? Because at the beginning of the episode, the Watcher straight up says, not everything turns out well. Or he says something to the lines of this is a bad, I've shown you some stuff, this is a bad thing.
Yeah.
And so I fully went into this episode like, okay, the universe is going to probably, something bad's happening at the end of this. So I went in knowing that whenever I thought something good could happen, I felt like the bad thing was going to happen. So I, weirdly enough, in the fight with the other Doctor Strange, the good Strange, I did not for a moment think the good Strange would win.
It's just, I don't know if maybe it's just me, but I feel like other people probably feel this too, where you watch a thing and you just keep hoping that it won't, like, good will win, or it will change, or this won't happen this time. Like, honestly, you know what's something that always makes me feel this way is like Star Wars, Revenge of the Sith. When I watch that, every time I feel like I'm just like, what if Anakin just didn't do this right now? What if he didn't, like, it's like you want him to make the better choice, even though it's a movie, it's constant. It's never
and you've
change.
seen it, especially once you've already seen it, you know what's going to happen. Or like I watched it for the first time and I already knew what it was. I mean, everyone knew, any adult who knew who Anakin Skywalker was.
Yeah.
Or like you go into the movie knowing what he's going to do.
Yeah.
You may not know exactly what he's going to do. You may not know about the youngling thing, but you know that shit's going down and he's going to be Darth Vader by the end of this. But at that point in the movie, you like learn to, like, you've grown up with this kid, and there's a little more tragedy to it, especially because you know that this is the one truth of the Star Wars universe, because the Star Wars universe is a universe. There's no multiverse yet. That would be ridiculous. A Star Wars multiverse.
Give it a few years. I'd put money on it. Eventually get a Marvel Star Wars universe crossover. Disney owns both. And if you don't give it to us, if Darth Vader doesn't fight freaking Iron Man or something, I will be probably a little disappointed, you know? Like,
it sounds sick.
I mean, yeah, there's no reason that it shouldn't. If
there could be an episode of What If where it's like, what if Star Wars showed up in the MCU or something like that?
What if someone breached so far through the multiverse they broke into a galaxy far, far away?
What if the Guardians visit a galaxy far, far away or something like that?
Yeah, that would be, yeah, exactly. What if the Guardians visited a galaxy far, far away? Which, just to say, I would love to see What If forever. There's no reason that they couldn't is there not literally an infinite amount of ideas and all the comics that have ever existed, and you couldn't just what if anything any alternate timeline that's ever existed? Like, this is a series that could just go on forever, and I would like it to. I'd love to just keep seeing what if this happened, like it, because I just like it so much.
Yeah, but
but kind of back to what I was saying. It's my usual feeling is that when I watch anything, even though I knew
you hope for a good ending.
I did, yeah. Every opportunity he had to like turn or the final battle with him, you know, the good version of Doctor Strange, I'm just like, oh well, he's got to win, right? Because that's how it usually is, and it subverts my expectations, and I like that. I, as an adult, enjoy the tragedy and enjoy having my expectations subverted in a good way.
So I have a question for you. I mentioned earlier that number 3 would be my pick for best episode. In thinking about it, do you have a pick?
So it, for that reason right there, I feel like this almost might be my favorite episode.
That's what I thought you were going to say. And I think for the exact reason why I didn't feel that suspense. And I felt like in almost a Shakespearean way, they give away the ending at the beginning, which normally shouldn't affect your perception of something. You should still be able to enjoy it for what it is. And I did enjoy it as an episode, but I did not have any expectations subverted. I felt no suspense at any point. I didn't exactly see the things happening the exact way that they occurred. And I think my favorite part of the episode was just seeing him absorbing stuff, because that's like the only thing I did not perceive that happening. But in my mind, I was like, okay, he's going to try to save her. It's not going to work. He's going to keep trying. And at some point, the universe is going to be destroyed because of it. And that's more or less what happened. So my expectations were not subverted, which doesn't need to happen to enjoy something. But the episode as a whole without that was not my favorite. And it felt at times predictable in what was going to occur, because told me what was going to happen at the beginning.
Yeah. So see, the reason that number 3, maybe it's for a simple reason. This is why 3 wouldn't be a favorite episode, though I liked it, because I kind of called the I not to say I didn't know the Loki thing was going to happen where he was going to show up and help out at the end, but I just called what the villain was for the most part. I didn't know it was exactly Hank, and so I kind of liked that. I was a little surprised, but I was like, oh, this is like an evil Ant-Man, or this is Yellow Jacket doing this, and it was a little different than that. But I was just kind of like, oh, the maybe some of the mystique that I lost, some of that, like, questioning and not knowing kind of.
Yeah, I went through the episode not knowing who the bad guy was or what was going on. Also, I wasn't sure how many Avengers were going to die. Like when Hulk popped up, I was like, well, they can't kill the Hulk. I mean, yeah, but then the Hulk died.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, maybe Black Widow's going to be like the sole survivor at this point. And like, because like she's scrappy, she can get out of stuff. No, not her.
Yep.
And really the only one that survived was Captain America because he had not been freed at this point.
Yeah, which I think from what I understand, he's probably like unfrozen just before the event of the Avengers.
Yes.
Yeah, like he was basically on like all the other Avengers were like kind of contacted or had initiated their coming into that realm before. Captain America's like, I was unfrozen literally a couple weeks ago before Avengers happens. Like I showed up just in time to save the world. But yeah, there's something about how that ends. Like, hey, I did also like the subversiveness of it in that it's like all the mightiest heroes die, but we already know, we definitely know they're all going to die, or maybe not. The question is like, which ones are going to die? The question is why and how are they dying? But I figured out the why and how kind of early, and I was under no illusions. I mean, there's no surprise that more or less of them died. It's just, yeah, mightiest heroes. Pretty much all the Avengers are going to die in this episode. And so there's, again, it's still cool. I enjoy every one of these what ifs I've enjoyed. But the Captain America one was just like, this is just an alternate Captain America movie.
Yeah, I was retelling the same movie. Number 2, I thought was better than number 1, but it's still like at times it almost felt like fan servicey.
It honestly, yeah. And again, I still enjoyed it, but I would agree with that. It's literally like, what if Star-Lord was a total badass? Like, what if he was, what he was T'Challa and he was just really good at everything and so super smart and, like that was just like a super really amazing universe where things are better.
Quite honestly, I feel like one of the tipping points of, okay, this is too much was Howard the Duck, which I appreciated him being there. I thought it was funny, but like, it's like, this is a collector who has such a bigger collection, and we still see Howard the Duck every time we visit this dude's place.
Yeah. And so again, I enjoyed all those, but those were just kind of like, they just were what they were, right? I didn't feel like a lot of nuance, or there wasn't like and even number 3 still kind of just was what it was. I feel like number 4 was literally like watching a villain and his straight march into hell. And every time there's just a part of me that's like hoping that this person will turn back, right? Because we know he's a hero. Because I know he's a hero, I don't want to see him become a villain. And so I'm just like thinking like, well, is this going to be what turns him back? Like you just see all these moments, right? Like those are all branch timelines in their own, where each moment he could have been like, all right, I turned back when the Ancient One warned me. I turned back when Wong warned me. I turned back when Oben warned me. Like I turned back before, good Doctor Strange defeats him or something. Like there are all these moments where you just think like this is where it could have been okay, but it just wasn't. Each time he pushed through, he achieved. Like if he's the hero of his own story, he overcame all the things here. And this is a story about him. He was the hero of his story, except he's the villain of all of our stories.
Here's the thing, though. We've seen the villain have his hero's journey in a Marvel movie before. It was called Avengers: Infinity War.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, and I feel like I've seen that. So I've seen it done better. But what I appreciate, I think, most about this episode is that this episode, even more so than Captain America, the Captain Carter episode, and even more so than the T'Challa episode, this episode felt the most like the movie that it was like most directly connected to. Like this felt like a natural like version of Doctor Strange. I think it's helped that this is like the first episode where every major character is voiced by the person. You get Tilda Swinton, you get Benedict Cumberbatch, you get Rachel McAdams, you get Benedict Wong. These are the actual people voicing their actual characters. And so it helps the immersion. And because Doctor Strange already was such a fantastical movie that had a lot of these like crazy stuff happening. When that stuff occurs, it feels like still feels like the movie. Like the car scene at the beginning of the movie, the car crash, I felt right in that car scene, even though it was live action in the movie. This felt like the same scene I was watching.
Yeah. I just totally, besides the thing, it never stops. Not, I don't know what even the feeling is. The what the fuck kind of feeling of that the actor who plays Wong, whose name is Wong, like in the comics,
is played by
Benedict Wong, who is opposite Benedict Cumberbatch. And I just keep being like,
Dr. Cumberbatch.
It's like, did they do that on purpose? There's no way they did it on purpose. They wouldn't just pick a guy because of his name. And I'm just like, what are the odds? I just every time I think of that, I'm just like, Benedict Wong, who plays Wong, opposite Benedict Cumberbatch.
I mean, we get
it's like not even a common first name. I don't know. Sorry, I don't know why I have to mention that. It's just every time I think of it.
I mean, Tilda Swinton, I believe her original name was the Ancient One.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know that too, but that's whatever. I'm pretty sure they picked her because her original name was the Ancient One, because she's literally actually thousands of years old and fit the role really well.
Yeah. So, she'll outlive us all.
Yeah. Well, not anymore. She actually died in the movie. We have to get that on film. That was real.
Yeah, but her astral projection is still with us.
Right. Yeah, her echo that can break, because her echo existed in this past. It gets to come forward to the future of this other timeline
and appear in new Wes Anderson movies.
Yeah, exactly. So, back to what you were saying though. It does. I understand that, like, it feels like a movie kind of thing. I don't know that it feels like more of a movie than Captain Carter, because Captain Carter really just feels like a straight up, like, it's just the first Avenger with Captain Carter.
It's more like, I don't know, I think it's something to do with like color palette and stuff, where the Captain Carter one, I was like, it's retelling the events of the first Avenger, but I feel like first Avenger looked different. Like at the USO shows, it had that very like almost like 1940s like browns and yellows and reds, but I feel like a lot of that movie was like a lot darker, and there were like a lot more like blues, whereas the episode felt more like in the reds and stuff and the oranges. In my mind, that's like, when I think of that episode, I just think of the color like orange and stuff.
Actually, I think you're right about that. And now that you pointed out, and maybe that was an artistic choice, like to make it feel more separate or different. But I think you are right. I definitely think of a lot more orange and kind of brightish colors. Whereas
like the Doctor Strange episode, like I think because so much of it is so much more immediately familiar, it just feels a lot like the movie, because like whereas the animation style stays the same each episode, there's enough differences like in like color palette and like tone and stuff that each episode feels distinct in a way. Even though all the animation's more or less the same, it's all got that sort of cell shading stuff, the episodes feel distinct from each other because they are different universes, which is another thing I appreciate about the show in general.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like I don't see the Star-Lord T'Challa popping up in the Captain Carter episode because he feels different, like fundamentally.
Right. Yeah. Just the way that they're portraying things really cements that these are different universes that are occurring.
Like the little bit of Nick Fury you see at the end of the Captain Carter feels like a different Nick Fury than the Nick Fury we get in the Avengers episode, even though it's the same person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which only makes sense. Like, really, I mean, they are delineating that these are literal different universes.
And it's like, and they may not even do anything, but my brain feels it that way.
What if they end up getting towards like a multiversal clash, and they have two Nick Furies at the same time, but they're literally in different shades?
See?
That would be on point, right? Like, you don't have to do anything to like, but literally just scale your shading just ever so slightly. So it's like you can really even tell which one's like from which universe or something. Because
and if this was, let's say that this becomes like a live action thing at some point, you just put them in different costumes or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
or like style their makeup differently and all that stuff. But yeah, I I think that this is just a fundamentally. I think the show does require you to watch the movies at a fundamental level. You cannot enjoy the show without having seen the content it relates to. The Captain Carter episode on its own, I mean, technically speaking, it's telling you the story of Captain America. And so that episode, if any, would work. But the rest of them just fundamentally, I don't think work the same unless you've watched the movies.
Yeah, like number 3, you literally, it makes no sense unless you actually seen all those movies. Like even you are missing something because you don't know what the scenes from the Incredible Hulk are.
Yeah, I mean, I remember seeing the trailer of him in that, like the glass, like the pathway between the buildings. I remember that from the trailer, and I remember him like busting out of it. But I haven't not seen that movie, so like I did not know how much of this was ripped from the movie.
Yeah, you don't even know what the variation is right there. Like it'd be like, oh, I didn't watch Iron Man 2 somehow. You're coming this far, but you watch this What If episode, and you don't. You're just like, why is Iron Man in a donut? Like, what is he even doing there? But you don't understand that like a bunch of stuff just happened right before he ends up in the donut.
The two MCU movies I've not seen are Hulk and Iron Man 3. Actually,
Iron Man 3 is. Honestly,
it's one of the more divisive ones.
It's a skippable movie. It's I want to just like all the movies, but it was like a weird. I don't know. That's like that could be a whole episode right there about.
I heard the Mandarin's coming back.
I mean, well, yeah, technically he does exist. I mean, the person,
but like the real Mandarin, not the fake actor Mandarin.
I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But yeah, it's a really good show, and it seems to only be getting better in a way. Like even though like the number 4 wasn't my favorite, I still appreciate the choice.
So I think they're doing it just right, where we come in with just kind of like a simple, hey, we replaced X with X, right? It was a very simple kind of what if to understand. The second episode, almost the same thing. We replaced this Star-Lord with,
but it gets a little more like this is fundamentally different because we made this change.
They're like perfectly introducing us to like how this one is like barely different, but like significantly. And then this one is like universe is entirely different, right? Like Thanos is not a threat anymore. Now it's this guy that's the threat. And these things are, like a simple change, but fundamental difference. The third episode is major difference, right? Like all these heroes die. Like it's one single point where it all changes, but major thing happens. Like this is drastically different here. And so it kind of prepares you to come into episode 4 where it's not just like, this isn't just drastically different. Like this is different and everything's bad. And like, this is what happens when the wrong choice is made and this universe collapses, literally.
Like it shows like fundamentally speaking, if the catalyst that caused Doctor Strange to become Doctor Strange was Christine's death, the world ends because of it.
Yeah, basically. Like that is the natural flow of this timeline. Like if Christine's the reason that he becomes Doctor Strange, he will eventually become evil, strange, and destroy the
So the
world.
fact that he loses his hands is basically the best thing to happen.
Yeah. So
I'm excited for episode 5.
Yeah, I don't know what it's supposed to be, but I know from just the teaser trailers, I know that we are eventually going to get
the zombies.
Yes, Marvel Zombies. I'm excited to see that because I know that that's a thing that exists in the comics, but I don't know much about it. But it'll be really great to watch it. I think that's gonna be. I think anybody's gonna enjoy that. They're gonna be like Marvel Zombies. All of our favorite heroes are zombies. So,
exciting.
Yeah,
but yeah. So honestly, I'm getting kind of bummed by the titles and the descriptions, reading them going into the episodes.
I kind of almost agree.
Because I think it ruined. It didn't ruin episode 3 for me, but if I could have watched episode 3 without reading that synopsis beforehand, I think it would have been a better episode.
Yeah. It'd be cool somehow they give us the title at the end of the episode somehow. But I mean, I guess they have to have a literal title. They should just go, what if 4? What if number 4? And at the end they go, what if this happened?
Yeah.
That'd probably be the easiest way to deal with it. Like give us the title at the end of the episode.
But it is what it is. And I think we said all we need to say.
Yeah, I think so. But until next time, this has been Robert.
And Ryan.
Have a good one, folks.
Yep.